1 dead 26 wounded in Memorial Day massacre and U.S. officials expected to address the nation. The loss of respect for all the things that we used to hold sacred has accelerated at an alarming rate in the United States in recent years. Our national sovereignty, our freedoms, and our very lives are all under fire by those with a short-sighted selfish view of the world. It may have started with politicians whose idea of winning votes was to give away the rights of the hardworking in favor of those who screamed the loudest that they were being mistreated, but that sense of entitlement has now filtered down to those who think they can get away with anything. On a weekend when anyone who has a heart is thinking of those who give their lives for our freedoms, apparently the violent are still thinking of how to get what they want, and that includes shooting up their fellow Americans. Chicago is most notably hit by the violent spree as thugs try to ruin more lives and add to the lawlessness that has taken over Chicago's inner city. Chicago, Sun-Times MediaWire, A 15-year-old boy was killed and at least 26 other people have been wounded in Chicago shootings throughout the Memorial Day weekend, including 2 people wounded in a shooting on I-57 on the far south side. The 15-year-old boy was killed about 6:30 p.m. Sunday in a Lawndale neighborhood drive-by shooting that also left a 16-year-old girl wounded on the southwest side. The 2 teenagers were in a gangway in the 1600 block of South St. Louis when someone fired shots at them from a passing gray vehicle, according to Chicago police. The boy was shot in the back and taken to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he died. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office has not provided information on the fatality. The girl suffered a graze wound to the back and was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital. About 2:45 a.m. Monday, someone inside a black Dodge Charger fired shots at a gray Acura while the vehicles were traveling in the northbound lanes of I-57 near 115th Street, according to Illinois State Police. The Acura was then rear-ended by a third vehicle. One person inside the Acura was shot in the buttocks, while another person suffered a gunshot wound to the lower back. 2 men were taken from the scene in serious to critical condition to Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, said Chicago Fire Department spokesman Jeff Lyle. 2 other people were taken in good condition to Roseland Community Hospital. Additional details on the shooting were not immediately available. Earlier Monday, 2 men were wounded in a drive-by shooting outside a BP gas station in the Archer Heights neighborhood on the southwest side. The men, ages 21 and 22, were driving south at 1:24 a.m. in the 4500 block of South Pulaski when someone in a dark-colored SUV fired shots in their direction, police said. The younger man was shot in the right knee, while the older man suffered a gunshot wound to the right leg. They were both taken to Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, where their conditions were stabilized. At least 21 other people have been shot in Chicago since 7 p.m. Friday. The disrespect for human life that this display is a tribute to those who know nothing about consequences, or about a life that can be lived to mean something. Sadly, this year's violence isn't even as bad as the previous years. Fox 32, with a single fatal shooting since Friday evening. This year's holiday weekend has been much less violent than last year's. In 2016, 47 people were shot, 4 of them fatally, by midnight Sunday of the long holiday weekend, which is widely viewed as the unofficial start of the summer, with an accompanying surge in city gun violence. By the end of that weekend, 69 people had been shot, leaving 6 dead. 12 people were killed and 43 wounded over 2015's holiday. Chicago's famous violence isn't getting any better, and anyone with a reasonable outlook on the landscape of the living conditions in this bloodied inner city can see that the city's policies need some reform. For all the community organizing and love for legals put out into the universe, somehow the killing still abounds. It's almost like Rahm Emanuel's flagrantly liberal policies only work in a theoretical world where you get to live in an ivory tower, but if you stand on a street corner you're just out of luck. The United States can mourn its problem with violence all at once, but until we're ready to anger those who are committing the crimes by either deporting them or giving them harsher punishments, the problem won't go away. And placating to criminals is not what America is supposed to be about. As we remember our fallen heroes on this Memorial Day, Let's consider that the greatest way to honor them is to find a way to keep the country that they died for a safe haven for their families, all of those still to come.